This video is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to put on some foundations I absolutely don't like, that didn't work on me, that just look horrible. And as I'm showing them to you, I'm going to tell you some of the reasons why I didn't like them. Some won't be apparent to you at first because it's how they wore during the day. And I'll talk about how some of them just got into my fine lines and wrinkles. One of the biggest disappointments this year for me was the By Mario Surreal Skin Foundation. I had such high hopes for this. And again, some of these may work for you and look beautiful on your skin. I'm almost closer to 60 than I am to 59. I have combination skin. I still have an oily T-zone. And what I find is during the day, my skin starts to get oily in the T-zone and makeup tends to wear off. But today, right now, I have absolutely nothing on my skin. I want you to get a good close-up of it before I start applying anything. I do have texture in the forehead here, lines from just having a very expressive face. I have some crow's feet around here. And let's see, I have a little bit of discoloration right here in the cheeks. And I definitely have broken capillaries here on the sides of the nose, more so on this side, my left, than the other side. So what I want to do is show you these foundations and why they didn't work, but I also want to show you some that worked amazing for me this year. So let's start off with the By Mario. And one thing you can see right in the bottle, or at least I can see, is all this luminosity. And what happened for me is it looked too shiny, too shimmery, too glowy. You can be too glowy. You can see I hardly used any of this. It looks like the bottle hasn't been used because after a few times wearing it, I just thought it looked horrible. It made my skin look horrible, and I stopped wearing it to work. So this is not an inexpensive foundation either. Now for everything today, I'm going to use the Nikki LaRose brush. This is amazing. You can get really thin coverage, and that's what I like. This brush is unique because you can use either side. You could do one for foundation, one for powder. I found that both sides work great. Let's talk about texture first. It's not very thick, but it's not as thin as, like, say, my MAC Face and Body where it would be running right now, which is fine. This is usually a good weight for my skin, especially if I'm applying it with a nice brush like this or a sponge. So let's go in. Now, the shade match, this isn't that great of a shade match for me either. Now, I'm normally a neutral shade. I bought in this one 8N. So I bought a neutral, which typically works for my skin. I guess once I get it on, it's not bad. That's looking better. And I'm getting nice coverage. I'm sort of loving the way it looks right now after I've said all these things about it. But like I said, once it was on the skin, I just felt like there was too much shimmer going on. I like a more satin finish. I don't want too matte where my skin looks super dry, and that tends to show more of my pores and fine lines, but I don't want something that looks like a disco ball either. And you can see a lot of shine as I turn my face. I also think this brush makes a big difference, which is why it's probably looking a little better to me than when I've used other ways of putting it on. I'm just going to put it on one side of my face so we can look at it. But as the day went on, I remember too it wearing off and looking a little bit patchy, and it didn't stay well on my skin. So that was part of the problem. Also, I thought at first, oh, this looks great. And then as the day wore on, it didn't look as nice. All right, so I'm going to blend this in a little better at the hairline. I like to go under my eyes with foundation because I try to see if I can get away without wearing concealer. I find if I can go without concealer, my under eyes look so much better. Some of my favorite foundations actually work great as concealer, and then I don't need one at all. So I'm going under the eyes. And you have to keep in mind, too, with foundation, I'm wearing this in everyday life. You know, sometimes I'll put this on celebrities and they're wearing these fancy clothes and they're going out and everybody's dressed up a lot. So they want all this glow. I'm going off to school. So I want a much more natural look to my everyday makeup. And that's probably part of the reason I really didn't like this. So I'm looking now, and what I'm noticing is because of the shimmer, and now some of this is coming back to me, I'm seeing more texture here in the pores, which maybe a primer would help underneath, but I like a foundation that works on its own without primer. If I want to apply primer, then I can, but most of mine that I love, I don't even need a primer. So I'm seeing texture here. The feel of it, even though I've applied it very thin, there's a little bit of dampness to it. Let's see around the lips. Yeah, I'm seeing some lip lines around here. It's getting into those a little bit, making them more noticeable. And I just see so much shine coming off my face. So this isn't a look that I like for every day. And that's how my life is. I don't go anywhere where I need this glamorous foundation or anything. I am not living that life. So this is just a little too much glow for me. So let's take one last look. Here's the Mario, and here's my skin without anything on. Now it covered really nicely, the capillaries and stuff. Of course, that's not the bad side. This is the bad side here. But it's just a little too much glowiness. And like I said, the accentuating the texture here is what makes me not really like it. Now I'm remembering too that it sort of collected during the day right in here in the marionette lines. And so that's another reason I didn't like it. Now I can thin that out really thin to help with that with the brush. But still, again, I'm seeing a lot of texture. This would probably work on somebody a lot younger than me or with smoother skin. I've had acne, I've had all kinds of things, rosacea, so that I have texture on my skin. And so someone that their pores don't show, there are people without pores that just are the look of pores that have really smooth skin. Maybe it would work for them, but this isn't my favorite. Now let's talk about another foundation that was a disaster. And I actually put it on in a video and then I had to refilm because it was so shiny. It was so over the top dewy. It's the Tarte Maracuja Juicy Glow. I had bought a sample of it and I thought I liked it. So I bought a full size. This is the shade 24N Light Neutral. I love the squeezy tube. I thought this was great for travel. And it just is so dewy. You won't believe it. You'll see. So here's the Mario on this side. And let's go in. I'm going to use the other side of the brush, even though I have really cleaned this brush off pretty well. I just don't want to have any of the other foundation on it. And let's go into this. Now this looks pretty dark, but once it's on the skin, it sort of melts with your own skin. And this is a light shade. What did I say? It's light neutral. And I am more neutral than cool or warm. So, and you could see the difference in the shades. This looks like it's a lot, but I think once we blend it, it'll be fine. But you won't believe the shine that's going to be on my skin. It's feels very oily sort of to me on the skin, and it's very tacky right now. We'll see when it dries down. I can go under the eyes. Now, maybe somebody with drier skin than mine, maybe this would work, but right now my skin is pretty much combo. I have had times when my skin's been dry. This just isn't one of them. Most of the time it's due to weather. And right now we're getting a little bit of cold weather, but mostly we're still having warm days. Today it's just been really foggy. And the fog just lifted, and it's, almost noon? It's on a Sunday. It's 12:15 when I'm filming. Now, what I don't like, I have some kind of breakout or something here on the cheek, and it is really accentuating that. But I can, again, really see my pores. And I have foundations that don't look like that, where my pores are not very noticeable. And they're from the drugstore, a lot cheaper. This, again, is a mid-price foundation. It's not Chanel, but it's more than what I pay at the drugstore, and so is by Mario. So I'm looking at both of these. Now, I thought Mario's was shiny, but look at how shiny that is. I'm getting so much shine. I'm just seeing texture here in my skin that I wasn't even noticing before when I had no makeup on. I'm actually feeling worse about my skin. And let's get in here. Now, one thing I noticed as I wore this, the capillaries are still showing right now. And as I wore it, they were showing more and more during the day. So let me know in the comments what you think. I'd love to know if any of you have tried either of these foundations. I'm just going to bring it down onto the neck. So here we've got the Tarte. And again, I'm feeling like I'm having issues with it getting into these lines here, the marionette lines. Just blend that a little bit. So here is the Tarte Maracuja. Way too shiny for my liking. I'm not a huge fan of powder. I really don't like wearing powder on my face. I love the Mally, and I will put that on, and that helps bring this shine down. But I want the foundation to work without the Mally, without anything else, just on its own, look nice, not too shiny, not too many pores showing. I think out of these two, the Mario, to me, looks a lot better. Actually, this is just way over the top, dewy, shiny. It just doesn't work for me. It's not the look that I'm going for, but maybe someone with really dry skin would like it. If you've tried it and love it, let me know in the comments. I'm going to go wash my face now, and we are going to try out this one. And this is one that I love that really impressed me, the MAC Studio Fix. This is called Everywhere. All over face pen. I'm just loving this. So keep in mind how these look. And then I'm going to go ahead and show you how this one looks. And another favorite that I've tried recently, the Tarte foundcealer. So these two have really amazed me. Let's have these two sort of battle it out. I'm back, and I'm going to put on a little more of the Milani. This is just the Keep It Full. I thought this would be nice to keep my lips moisturized while we're doing the video. I've never done a video like this. If you're enjoying this, let me know in the comments. Leave me a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, I'd love to have you here. So the MAC Studio Fix caught my eye because I love MAC so much. I've loved it for a long time. And just look at this packaging. It's so strange. It's very different. So what amazed me is it says it's an all-over face pen. So it can be used like a concealer, or you can actually put it on everywhere. And what happened to me when I was going through everything with my mom and I was staying there with her, at one point I had no foundation with me, and I had bought this, and I thought, I'm just going to try this all over my face. And it worked beautifully. So I was so impressed. Now, to get the product out, you just push at the end here. It's got a little pump. I'm going to put just a couple of dots because that's about all I'll need. And the product itself is not super thick, not super thin, and you get amazing coverage. What I like is none of my hyperpigmentation or redness or anything showed through with this. And it just worked beautifully. It didn't show the texture in my skin. I definitely could go with it on the under eye. Look at that, how smooth that is. It goes on so nicely. It has a very little bit of satin to it, so it's not flat. It didn't collect here in the lines around my mouth or around the sides here. Really nice. It was a beautiful shade match too. This says it's NC30. So that's the shade that just looked to me like it would match, and it's hard matching foundations, isn't it? I have a neutral skin tone, and one way you can tell that's a little easier than looking at your veins, which is what they usually recommend, is look at your jewelry. And I think you also need to consider your eye color. My eyes are warm. They're hazel, they're green with flecks of brown in them. So they have a very warm look to my actual eye color, if you can see. I'll get a little closer. But also, I think you need to think of your hair color. My hair, the color that I'm doing right now, is very warm. And so most of what I'm wearing is warm. You can see with the gold jewelry, it looks pretty good next to my skin. Now you can see another thing you can do is then put on silver. Like look at this silver here. And if that looks good on you also, you're probably a neutral like I am. I wear a lot of silver jewelry also, and I like it almost as much. Usually, if you're very cool and you put on gold, you're not going to really gravitate to that look. You might be happier wearing silver. So try that out and see how you feel about it. But I've come to the conclusion that I am a neutral and that neutral foundations work the best on me. So what I'm seeing here is not much texture in here. It covered my under eyes beautifully. This did not collect in here where a lot of foundations will collect. Now I could get even more precise with that and use this brush. This is the N16 from Nikki LaRose. And if I go in here, do a little more detail work like this, then I could really get the under eyes looking great. But I love this. I think it has a little bit of a sheen, but not the sheen we got from the Mario or the Tarte Maracuja. And it just has a really nice sort of air-blown look to my skin. I want to show you too for a second the capillaries. Now this is the side that's pretty bad here. And I'm going to show you how this covers that really nicely. Now, I could have those done, but my experience has been, I had my legs done a couple of times, spider veins, and if you have an issue in that area, in a short time, they just come back, and I know that's what would happen with my nose too. So I just haven't done it. Maybe at some point I'll do it, but, you know, doing that sometimes is several $100s, and I would just as soon just take the makeup and cover it up. It doesn't bother me that much. Other people, it might bother them a lot, but it just doesn't bother me that much. But look at how nicely that covered. Now, this is what's left on my hand. I've got quite a bit. I could do my whole face with that amount. So this is one I'm just like, I will definitely repurchase this. It's worth the money. I use so little of it. This would last me months and months, even if this was the only foundation that I wore every day. But I'm really happy with it. It gives my skin, I think, a really nice look. I'm just going to blend it a little bit here. And this is not drying either. Like I could go onto my eyes with this. If I wanted to cover my eyes, I could go easily onto the lid and cover and have it blend beautifully and use that as a primer for my shadows. Or just do that, not wear any eyeshadows. Some days I do that and I just wear liner and mascara like I have on today. But I'm very impressed with this. I think it's a beautiful product. Let's go ahead and get rid of this, and we're going to try one more that I think is amazing, and that's the Tarte foundcealer. While I didn't like the maracuja at all, I love this one. I was a little afraid it would be too thick for me, but it wasn't. Look at how this opens. I love the packaging. It just pops up. You twist it at the bottom, pops up. This is plastic, so it would be great for travel, and you can lock it too so it won't open. But I'm going to go ahead and put some on my hand. That's way more than what I'll need. You use very little of this. Now, I was afraid, again, this would be too heavy of coverage, but boy, was I surprised. It gave such a beautiful look, and it did cover any redness, capillaries, all of that. And I'm just cleaning my brush off. And let's go ahead into it. And I'll show you how nice this. Now, this is my worst area here for texture, and of course the forehead lines. And a lot like the MAC. These to me are very similar. I can go up under the eyes like that. Oh, that feels nice, very smooth. I like how I don't see very much texture on the skin. I like having it side by side to the MAC. I haven't done that before, so it's going to let me see which one of the two I prefer. Because up to now, I sort of felt on the fence. I like them both so much. Let's just go on to the forehead. That's really my hardest part as far as texture. Okay. Well, I see some shine here. About the same that I see from the MAC. And these two really are almost identical from what I can see. Yeah, I would rate these about the same. I really like that you get full coverage from both of these without the heaviness. Now, keep in mind, a lot of this is how you apply it. If you put on a bunch of product and put your hands and are smoothing it everywhere, it's going to be too much. I'm using very little, just tapping the tip of the brush in and then even dabbing some off onto my hand before going onto the skin. But I think both of these are just winners. I really love the way they look. Let me know what you think. Here's the MAC. And then, of course, over here is the Tarte foundcealer. Interesting concept. They both came out with a concept of this is a concealer and foundation wrapped up in one. I think that's a great concept for mature skin. Let's take a look at how much product's in here. This is 0.41 fluid ounces, and this is 1. So there's quite a bit more product in the foundcealer than the MAC, but I'm really loving them both. I think they have a nice look. After looking at it even a little more, I think for me personally, my favorite is the MAC, but it's so close. Now for the worst foundation I tried all year. I wanted to love this. I was hoping this was going to be the drugstore foundation of my dreams. I even bought 2 of them because I thought maybe I didn't like it because of the shade. But it's the NYX Bear With Me Blur. I had such high hopes for this. I heard some people saying great things. Well, it pilled up on me. It just kept rolling off. I tried it multiple times. I tried it with my fingers. I tried it with a sponge. I tried it with a brush. I did everything I could to make this work, and it did not. If you have a way that you made it work, I would love to know. I just don't know. I tried. There were days I had skincare on and I thought, well, maybe it wasn't dry enough. I'll try it again tomorrow without skincare. That didn't work either. But first I bought the shade light neutral and then medium neutral, trying to mix them even to get the right shade. That didn't work either. So I'm going to put some on my hand, and it's a little bit runny. Well, it looks like a lot runny there, doesn't it? And I thought, well, that's perfect. That's going to work really well for my skin. Let's go on with the first light neutral, which looks a little too light. See how light neutral is? Now, light neutral usually is my shade. So when I saw how light this was, I went and bought medium neutral, which was just too dark. So I'm going to put that on and you can take a look at that. So let's just mix the two together and see what we can do with it. All right, so here it is all mixed up. Let's go ahead and I'll apply it on the skin. See, that's even a funky color. I just could never get the right shade in this, which is a problem sometimes at the drugstore. It's hard to get the right shade. There are more options in other lines sometimes. There are some at the drugstore that have amazing options. But I'm going to put this on now. Already, I'm seeing a lot of texture. I'm even seeing the lines of the brush. And I did not see that at all with the other foundations that we used, even ones I was not happy with. So we'll just go ahead and apply this. But like I said, it kept pilling on me, rolling off my skin. And that isn't going to work. Affordable foundation is no good if it doesn't look good. It's wonderful when it looks good and it's affordable. But if it's just looking bad on the skin, then what's the point? There are a lot of affordable foundations that I love. I'm going to share a couple with you in a moment. But I'm going to get this on so we can talk more about it. Let me know if you've tried this, the NYX, and if you found a way to make it work. I'm really curious about that because I just couldn't. Now, what I'm seeing right now is pores even lower than I could see before, all the way down here. And again, if I wipe across it, let's just let it dry down a little bit. Okay, so I still have tons of it left on my hand. Let's take a look at it. Well, I see right now that it's collecting in the fine lines here. So that's going to be a problem. Even with this amazing brush that really thins it out, and I see streaks across my skin. I didn't see any of that with the other foundations. Just really did make my skin look well. And then again, when I put it on before, especially with my fingers, it was pilling and rolling up in balls, almost like an exfoliator. So this one just did not work for me. It was my worst that I tried all year. I tried some from the drugstore I fell in love with immediately that I thought looked great, but this is just not one of them. This is a foundation that I loved for a long time, the Wet n Wild, the Dewy foundation, but the problem I found with this now is it just doesn't last on my skin. It sort of wears off during the day. I have others from the drugstore that last much better. But I thought I'd go ahead and put it on so you could see how it looks. It really is a pretty foundation. It's got like a little spatula here. Another thing with this, it's got a very strong scent. It does sort of dissipate as the day goes on, but I'm not a fan of the scent part. I've become much more scent sensitive as I've gotten older. And I do like the shade of this. It looks a little light actually right now, compared with some that I wore. Another thing is this does not cover the capillaries. So I would need to go in with concealer if I were going to wear this. Now it is super affordable, but I have other drugstore foundations that are affordable, just a few more dollars, that I like the look better. So again, this is one that's just not long lasting. There are others that last longer on my skin, and the scent bothers me a little bit, and I also have to wear concealer. So that's another product to buy. So I would rather have a foundation that I didn't need to use concealer and save money that way. So let's stop and we'll take a look at this and compare this with the NYX. Yeah, the NYX is really accentuating a lot of my lines. I feel like the MAC and the Tarte, the foundation. I know these are more expensive foundations, but they did not accentuate my fine lines as much, maybe because of some of the ingredients, more skincare loving type of ingredients. And I'm also seeing more texture here in the forehead than I saw before. And I'm noticing, look at here, under eyes. So I didn't see that with the foundation, the foundcealer rather, from Tarte or the MAC. I'm seeing more of the collecting under the eyes. So I'm going to grab my little brush and try to blend that out a little bit. See if that helps. But if you take a look at it, I can still see the capillaries. I feel like it's collecting more in here. A little more texture in here I didn't see before. And also in here I'm seeing texture and more texture in the forehead, more collecting in the forehead. Definitely you can see the nicks. There's a whole little puddle of it right up here, right in this line of my forehead. So these two are not on my list to buy. I won't buy them again. I think that this would be great for someone younger without as much texture as me, without as many pores showing. They could get away with this, or even someone that's older that has smoother skin. But for me, it's just accentuating a lot of things, maybe the dewiness, maybe there's just not enough skincare in it. And like I said, right now I have no skincare on my face. I just put it on a bare face. So to me, this one and the blur really bring out texture. Let's talk about what I am going to repurchase from the drugstore, and that's the Neutrogena Sensitive Skin Foundation. This is beautiful. It says Provitamin B5 helps maintain skin's moisture barrier for healthier looking skin. And I bought the shade Light Medium 02. They have another number of light medium. I think it's 3, but I bought the 2 to start off with. This has really cool little dropper, and it's very thin. Look at how thin it is. It reminds me a lot of the MAC Face and Body I love so much, but much more affordable. I wanted to mention, since I've been washing my face between trying out the foundations, I love these towels. They're called the Clean Skin Club. I can't exist without these anymore. They are just fabulous. I wash my face and then dry it with this, and it's just great for anything while you're doing your makeup. Then when I'm all done, I take part of it and clean my bathroom counters. I just think they're absolutely amazing. Look at how big the towel is too. It's just great, and they've been really good for me, especially when I'm doing these videos. So I've cleaned my brush off. I'm going to go in with this. This is just beautiful, and I can definitely use it in the under eyes. And I love how it feels on my skin. It doesn't feel heavy. It's very lightweight, and I love wearing this for every day. It just looks very natural. I don't look too made up. So if you're looking for something just to wear out to the store, to places, and you don't like looking too made up, you want your skin just to look a little more perfected, then I think this is great. I can still see my skin through the foundation, but it just looks better. It takes some of the redness out, discoloration, and I just love it. This is one that I've worn a lot this year. Now, this is also buildable, so I could go back and put another layer on if I had areas that I felt I didn't conceal very well. But I'm looking at it, I get a beautiful shine, but once this fully dries down, it's not going to be shiny. It just, I think, makes my skin look so healthy. And again, I'll take the little brush here. This is, again, the N16. I really love this brush. You can get close to the lash line like this very gently. Beautiful. And it's great for around the nose. I'm going to put a little extra that's on my hand around the nose. You know, if you even had a spot on your hand, you were going out and you wanted to cover it, you could put this on for coverage right on your hands to make your hands look better. I really like that about this. This is a lot like the face and body. That's what that's meant for any areas you have on your body that there's discoloration. You can use it on the body, and it's going to stay on till you wash it off. The MAC face and body, this is very similar. So I'm really liking this. I could probably use a little more around the nose area. So I'm going to go in with a little extra product in this smaller brush and just get in here around my nose. But what I found is when I'm wearing this, as the day goes on, you don't see any patchiness. You can't tell like, oh, your makeup's wearing off. It just becomes more melted into the skin because it's so thin. And I never see like lip lines like I do if I wear a heavier foundation. So that's a big deal for me. I don't like to look at my lips and see these lines on top of the lips showing up. And I never was a smoker. I never used straws. So it's none of that. It's just the aging process. And again, having an expressive face. But I think this looks very beautiful. I do see a little texture in here, but it's not super noticeable. And I feel like as the day goes on and it sinks in a little bit, it works out fine. And of course, normally I'd have some blush on. So I really like the way that looks. What do you think? Here's without anything, and then here is the Neutrogena. Now, the last one I wanted to show you that I really loved, and I believe I picked this for my foundation of the year for 2023, even though it's been out a while, is the L'Oreal True Match. I'm in the shade N4, neutral light medium. This, again, is a very thin foundation, and I find it gives great coverage. It doesn't dry my skin out. So we're going to go and let's see how it looks and sort of choose between the Neutrogena or the L'Oreal. I love the color. I think the color looks really good on me. So what I love about this line is all the shades. Hopefully everyone can find something. I know it's hard when you have either very light skin or a deeper skin tone. My daughter Danielle, that you've met before on the channel, she has very fair skin, and I can't tell you how many times we've purchased foundation where it's been very orangey on her skin or not light enough. And I know I have friends that have issues finding a foundation deep enough for their skin. So it's a problem for many people to find the right shade. Well, I like how this covers on the nose because that's my most problematic spot as far as discoloration, and this works nice there. I love that it doesn't collect in the under eyes. I am going to go with my little brush underneath and get that area a little bit better. But I'm getting really good coverage from this. It's not looking too dry. It's not looking too shiny. Now, again, under lights, the foundation tends to look much shinier than it does in everyday life. So if I were to go in my bathroom right now, it would definitely have less shine to it. But let's see how the two, I think they're just very close. Here is the Neutrogena and then the True Match. So if you have two like this you like, the great thing is if one of them is on sale, you can grab it for a great deal. Let's look at the forehead. I don't see anything collecting here. That's good. I do see a little bit here in the Neutrogena collecting, so I'm just going to blend that out. Another trick I would say is if you have forehead lines like I do, just sort of lift the forehead, and then get in there good with your brush to blend out. Sometimes it's my fault that it's collecting because I haven't blended it out enough. So I will just sort of pick up the skin and just get in the line so that I make sure I don't have too much product there. But I think both of these look really beautiful on the skin, and they come with a great price tag. They're very affordable. Let me know in the comments which foundation was your favorite. I will have all of the products in the description of the video. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. I appreciate and love you all so much, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon.